This is everything I use to record guided meditations and breathwork practices at home. Hi friends, welcome into Teacher's Talk. I'm Michael James Wong, and in this video, I'm going to share with you all of the equipment that I use to personally record guided meditations and breathwork practices at home in a way that is simple, straightforward, and that anyone can do. Now, let me start by saying I'm not a tech person. I'm not someone who knows all the things about all the things, and I have certain equipment that I use that I'm really favorable of. The things that I know how to use, the things I like to use, and the things that are easy for me to use. Now, regardless of where you are in your process of wanting to record your guided meditations or breathwork practices, you do need to focus and know that there are a certain amount of things that are really important to get the right capture both for video and for audio. Now, let me say there are times where I'm going to go into studio and work with a sound engineer or producer. I'm going to work with a video crew, but those are going to be bigger occasions when we're doing big course content or I'm recording meditations for radio or TV. In most cases, a lot of my personal stuff is going to be home recorded in a setup just like this. And I'm going to start by talking you through not only the equipment that I have and that I use, some of the insights that I think will be helpful to know to just make sure that you get the best quality capture in as little as time as possible. Now, the one thing that I can't help you with in this video is the quality of your execution. Now, you of course need to make sure you're planned well with your practices to really make sure that they land in a really meaningful way. So tighten up your techniques, plan out your practices, and use that as a way to really make sure that when you're recording it well, and in many ways, and hopefully in as little takes as possible. But let's start this way. Here's the equipment that I use that I think is really essential for you to have as you're starting to record at home. And the first and most important thing to use is your phone. Now, I use a phone literally for almost all of my content. Now, this is going to be record audio content. This is going to be record video content. And it's a great way to kind of have different settings and setups that will record most of your capture. Yes, there's different kind of remote recording devices that a lot of people will use or a lot of more professional or experts will use. I find these days for the type of stuff I'm recording, I need a good quality phone and a good quality microphone. And so once I have a phone and I use an iPhone, you can use whatever phone you want as long as there's a voice capture and a good video quality camera on there. So let's talk about this in two parts. Let's talk about this as audio, and then we'll talk about it as video with audio. So when I'm at home and I'm recording with audio, where it means I'm only doing sound, I'm not doing any picture. In most cases, I'm going to be seated just like I am now, and so I'm going to be using a close range microphone, which allows my voice to come really close in and sound quite intimate. So I'm going to use essentially a handheld, what effectively is a podcast or a close capture mic. And this is the microphone I use. It's a Shure, which is the brand, a Shure MV7. This is what's considered a home professional podcast microphone. I've been using this microphone for years and years and years, and most of my content that you've ever heard me guide with in a home setup is coming from this microphone. I'm literally recording this video right now on this microphone. And as you can see, and I'll just lift up my microphone, I've got one here, and as you can see, as I go closer, the sound becomes a little bit more intimate and the capture becomes really clear. Now, the reason I have a podcast mic or a close range microphone is that it gives me that intimate sound. It allows me to whisper or to lean in. And so if I'm working with a microphone just like this, if I'm working with an audio capture where it doesn't matter what the picture looks like or if I'm capturing picture at all, I can be right here. I can capture the sound of my exhale. I can have depth, tone, balance. I can allow myself to be a little further away, and I can allow myself to be really close in. What I love about these microphones, these MV7s, is that it kind of serves an all-purpose range of capture. I use them both for podcasting as well as for audio meditations and audio breathwork practices, and they're really very much a plug and play. I literally have one cord that connects to the phone, straight into the microphone, and then it's literally I hit record and we're off and running. That for me works really well because it's as simple as possible, and for someone who's not a tech-focused person, that's a really great way to have a setup for audio. So that's the MV7, and that's what I have here. And I'm just going to start to kind of put some of these things up. And of course, I'll put in the caption below links to where they are on Amazon. You can buy them wherever you want. And of course, these are just the equipment that I use. The Shure MV7 will run you about 215 pounds. That's kind of what it was when I just checked on Amazon a few minutes ago before I recorded this. And of course, there'll be different deals. But again, my job's not to tell you the price. You can look that up. That's the equipment I use. Second set of microphones that I use, if I'm doing something that is a little bit more on the go or on the fly. Say I was recording something outside, or I'm recording something that has a little bit of distance to it. It's called a Rode 2 Go. Now, a Rode Go or a Rode 2 Go means you have one mic box that's the receiver. This is the one that plugs into my phone. And these are the ones that I wear. So for example, I'd have one, and you see this will have a little screen on it. If I switch it on, you'll see it lights up and it will show me how much battery and how much life is in them. But generally, kind of rule of thumb is if they're on, the screens are on or the lights are blue, they're working. So one of these will connect to the phone, which is pretty straightforward. And then one of these I'll clip on right here onto my collar, and I'll be able to talk and capture. Now, they're not capturing sound exactly right now just because I have my main mic that I'm using, but these wireless 2 Go's suit really well, especially if I'm doing video capture, because it means I can sit a little bit further away. What's great about these microphones is that I can be at a distance. I don't have to be plugged into the phone because the receiver itself, what it does have, it has a little cord like this that plugs straight into the receiver. That plugs into the phone, and you're off and running. The other thing I have with these microphones, which can be helpful to make it look a little bit tidier and cleaner, is I have what's called a lapel mic or a clip-on mic. And what this does, it allows me to plug the mic itself into the mic box, and then I can just tuck this up my shirt, and that can just clip onto my shirt, which can make it look a little bit more professional or clean. It kind of depends the look that you're going for if you're doing video capture, but we'll come back to video capture. So that's what I use as far as microphones. I use the Shure MV7 and I use the Rode 2 Go's. They're roughly about the same price. They're give or take 200 pounds, depending on where you get them and kind of what pricing there is on them. For me, in general, those are the two microphones that I use. However, the place I started first, before I invested in microphones, was literally just using the microphone on the camera. Now, anything like an iPhone has a really good microphone capture for closed capture audio. So there's two ways to do it. One way is to just literally have headphones and use that to record. Now, my preference is always going to be headphones that plug in if I'm doing audio capture, because you don't have to deal with Bluetooth wireless connections that can sometimes create a little crackle or a disconnect. So if you have old school, go old school, get the headphones that plug straight into your phone. The other way that I've been doing it recently, which I really like, and as long as you have a super quiet room, you just record right here. You go, blah, 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 close your eyes, be still, and just breathe. That capture alone will be really, really great. And there's two ways to capture it, or a few ways to capture it. You can capture it in the voice note function in your phone, which is what I would do sometimes. In the voice notes, the voice memo function on your phone. Or the other ways I do it, I literally just record it in the video function in my phone, and then I can just separate out the audio itself. So that's what I use for phone capture. So 3 types of mics I'm going to use. I'm going to use microphone on the actual camera. I'm going to use Rode 2 Go's, or I'm going to use the MV7 Shure microphone. Now, there's another brand that I use as well in different environments. I don't have them here because I don't own them, but some of my video team has them, is we use DJIs. DJI is a different brand. And when you think about brands of microphones, it's a little bit like car brands. You know, some will say one's better than the other. Sometimes it just comes down to preference. You know, so for example, if you're someone who likes a Mercedes over a BMW, or you like Nikes over Adidas, whatever it is, Rhodes is one brand, and then DJI is the other brand. DJI is very well known for doing a lot of other kind of filming technology. So they do a lot of like drones, and they do a lot of gimbals, a lot of more kind of advanced production tools that you might not need, but people who shoot this stuff professionally would use. So Rhodes or DJIs, both are good. They're about the same price. I got the Rhodes because that's what was recommended to me. I think they work great, but at the same time, I do use DJIs commonly and regularly, and they also work great. A good example, if you've ever seen any of my professional content, like our YouTube videos or our course content from the Just Breathe course platforms or the online studio, all that stuff is done with the DJI as opposed to a Rhodes. So much of muchness. When you scale up, if you work with professionals or you work with experts, sometimes we'll use Sennheisers, which are the advanced, the even fancier microphones. Those, just the difference with those, a lot of times they're just more expensive. And that's where I use as kind of a microphone video or audio capture. Now, sometimes people say, okay, well, what's the best way to use a microphone? Do you want to use it straight from the box? Do you want to use it on the lapel? And sometimes you have essentially the over-ear ones. We call those the Britney microphones, so the Britney Spears microphones. So you kind of would have Britney mics. You'd have like a handheld microphone. It's not a microphone, but like a handheld, like Beyonce microphone. Or you would have lapel mics or straight from the box. What I would tend to say is my preference is, where possible, go straight into the microphone, because any of this extra stuff, like all the wires or the over-ear stuff or microphones that have cords or are wireless, you're just dealing with wireless or Bluetooth frequency that could disrupt the audio quality. And for breathwork and meditation, unlike anything else, the audio needs to be good. So where possible, I'm going to go straight into the box, or I'm going to go straight into the microphone, and that's going to make a clean capture where possible. So that's what I use for microphones. I hope that's helpful. Those are the brands that I use, and I'll make sure I put some links below and give you some kind of detail shots of what we're doing. Now, moving on from microphones, there's a few different tripods that I carry with me at all times. And the reason I use tripods is if I'm doing any sort of video or audio capture, is I want to be hands-free, because I'm a big talker with my hands, but sometimes I need to look at notes or I need to kind of use my hands to do other stuff. So where possible, I don't want to have to hold the phone to capture the audio. Now, in saying that, if that's the audio stuff we're talking about, if I'm recording video stuff, I'm most of the times going to do video straight through the camera app. Now, I'm going to shuffle my settings a little bit so you can see a little bit more depth of field. I'm shooting in cinematic mode. I have an f-stop of 2.2 and an ISO of -1. And that just gives me a little bit of depth and control in the way that my video is shot if I'm doing that. It's less harsh than just kind of generic default settings on your phone, but you can play with those to give you a little bit more depth of field and a little bit more of a contrast of color balance. Those types of things are really interesting to give you a little bit more, what might feel a little bit more professional feel or high quality feel. But I'm not someone who uses filters or masks or any kind of advanced technology or editing software. I usually just kind of do the camera settings as much as possible and then edit things to add in, to take out little bloopers and then to put in music behind it. So I always have two tripods with me. I have a table stand tripod. This is a very simple one I got on Amazon. It's called Yoshin. I don't know the brands. I just have used these because I've had friends or peers who have used these and recommended. What's great about this one that I love, it can fold up super small and it can sit on any table surface, and it just becomes something that can sit there and hold your phone. That does a certain job. The other one that I use, which apparently has been really well received, every time I pull this out, everyone loves it. This is a tripod that I got off Amazon, which was recommended to me by another Just Breathe teacher. The brand is called Toneoff, Toneof, don't know the brand. But what's cool about this tripod is that literally, as you pull it out, the bottom becomes a tripod and it's extendable. And what's nice about a tripod like this is that you can put it on any surface and it does that job of being a tripod. But what's better about it is that you can actually just pack it away very simply back into this format, and it suits that job well. And again, I'll put the link below. This was about 30 pounds in the UK. Having this to hand works out really well, not only just to record breathwork and meditation content, but all content in general. It's a really good tripod on the fly that I use and put in my bag anyway. The other tripod I use, which is a recent purchase for me, is I have a gimbal, and this is an Insta360 Flow 2 Pro. This is a gimbal that does balancing, tracking shots, it can follow me around the room. And if I'm doing video content based guided meditations, or I'm doing something that requires me to stand up or walk around, this can do just that because it can do a job to follow me, move me around. It also acts as a tripod itself. So in the event I need two tripods, or in the event I forgot my main tripod, this can work as a tripod itself. And what's nice about this, it can help really balance the shot and make sure nothing's wobbly. Again, I haven't mastered this. I'm still learning how to use it, but it's something that has been really good for recording some breathwork and meditation practices at home, or recording different bits of content. It also packs away nice and small, and so it does that job as well. This is a Insta360 is the brand. Flow 2 Pro is this model, and it's about 150 pounds, give or take. And I was comparing this between the DJI model. There's a DJI model that does something very similar. I ended up with this one because all the features and the functions of this suit what I want to do with it, and especially because I'm using this in a way where I can be quite up and down or moving around. It kind of suits that and can follow me around the room. So those are the main bits of technology I use. There's the last few things I want to share with you. I have a desktop microphone stand. I can use this if I'm using my big microphone, where I can screw it in here, and it allows me to sit on the table, use my notes, and not have to hold these microphones. Sometimes with these microphones, they need to be rigged up to something, and they can easily screw in like this. And what's nice about that is when they screw in, they can sit there on the table, and I can use it to talk to. However, I do want to show you a nice little trick that I learned over the years when I've been traveling, because I often travel a lot to teach, and I take a lot of my equipment, because there's nothing better than a quiet hotel room to record audios and guided meditations and breathwork. That being said, sometimes I forget this, and what I usually use is I literally use a roll of toilet paper. I know, it sounds funny, but what I do is literally just put that in there. It does the exact same job. Sometimes I'll even use this in videos because it's fun and it's funny. But what's nice about this, what makes it simple, is that it holds it at a certain height on the table that allows me to be quite intimate, quite close range, quite close capture with soft audio. So that tends to be all the different tools that I use to record, and it's suited me well and serves me well, and it tends to get the job done for everything I'm looking to do. So that tends to be the tools and the equipment that I use when I'm recording at home, and I do hope that's helpful. And that kind of concludes all the different bits and bobs that I'll use in most cases to record, and again, it suits and serves me well. Now, when I'm coming into the second part of the process, which is editing, editing is its own beast. Now, of course, I'm not an editor. It's not my go-to skill set, but through the nature of this work that I do, and doing videos like this for you all here, and putting out content around breathwork and meditation, it's essential to have some sort of an editing skill set that can kind of put your practices back together. Now, there's different softwares that people use. I tend to go with the easier the better, the quicker the better, and the functions that make sense to someone who's not tech, doesn't have a tech background like I do. So there's two programs that I use that are both on your phone and can be done on desktop. And I use primarily two programs. One is called Splice. Splice is an editing software that I use, which is very simple. You literally open a new project, you upload the video you want to put in. Let's just say we're working with video and audio, and then I can literally cut it to where I want it to be, take out any kind of misfires, missteps, funny statements, and then just tighten it up to make it a really clear capture and a good clean edit. At that point, in those apps, I can add music to the background. So most all these apps will have a stock music selection that you can put behind. So just generic music that's royalty free that you can use behind your music. And you can change the volume, so you push the music a little bit down in the background so your guidance becomes nice and soft and soothing. The other app that I use, which is probably more well known, is CapCut. CapCut does the same things as Splice. I just use Splice because I'm more familiar with it and I've been using it longer. However, I will use CapCut sometimes when I need some of the features on CapCut, which are a little bit more, I find their closed captioning is better. I find that some of their editing tools are better, and sometimes the export is a little bit easier and quicker in CapCut. So those are the tools that I use. As someone who's not a tech person, I guess I have a little bit of tech that I use and know a little bit of how to get the best capture. But hopefully that helps give you a little insight to the equipment I use and the editing software I use. And that can be really helpful in giving you good, clean quality audio and video capture for breathwork and meditation. The one thing I will say is if you're someone who likes to do their guidance with music in the background, it is a little bit harder. Most times when I'm guiding, I'm going to guide in a quiet room just like this, and then I'm going to add the music in after. If I really want to have music in my ears, one of the things that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to have music fed into you either through headphones or going to have it as a remote source. So, for example, I might play music on this phone, even though I'm recording on the phone that you're watching me on, and have this connected to headphones so I can hear music while I guide, and then I'll put the same music in the background after. A little bit more production that goes into that. You have to obviously have the music in both places, and it kind of turns into more of a production. That's typically how I will record if I'm going into studio. As many of you know, I record a lot of guided meditations for different radio shows, podcast audios. I record a lot of guided meditations for the BBC and a lot of their content shows. So when I'm in studio, I've got the headphones on. There's a sound technician in the other room who's putting music into my ears so I can hear it, so my voice and my tone can pace to that music, and I can find the rhythms and the gaps of where I'm going to talk in and out of the music. But again, that's a little bit of a longer production plan because I'll listen to the music, make sure I know where the crescendos are or where the music drops out, and then I'll put my guidance into those gaps to intertwine them, and that becomes a little bit more technical on techniques for guidance, which I'll do in another video. So that tends to be my approach for all of these things with equipment, with editing software, and using music in and out of the background. Again, I hope this was helpful in some way. I will share with you everything I have or the links in the below, and I'll do my best to kind of answer any questions that you have. But again, I tend to find with technology and equipment like this, some of the best places to start is literally just with your phone, using that for audio, or setting up a camera a few feet away, getting a good, decent microphone like this or like this to just be able to capture audio in a very clean way that allows you to feel like you're right with the person and right in their ears or right with them in the room. Remember as well, in most cases with breathwork and meditation, the person has their eyes closed, or at least the gaze is narrow for most of it, which means the audio becomes the primary engagement of those practices. So having good, clean, quality audio and really good quality way of capturing it is only ever going to make those practices land more effectively in a way that can really help people connect with the practices you're sharing. All right, so that's it for me in this teacher's talk. Hope that was helpful, and I look forward to hearing what you think in the comments below. You can reach out, drop me any messages, and as well, it's always great to be able to be here to share with you, and I wish you well, and hopefully this is helpful today. Have a good one. Peace.